Hello students, standard 7th revision of the chemistry chapter number 3, fiber to fabric is going on. We learned in the previous videos that there are different types of fibers, animal fibers and the plant fibers. Wool and silk are the animal fibers, while the cotton and jute, that are the plant fibers. We learn about the wool, that it is obtained from the sheep and yak, goat and some other animals. And we learn how the whole process is going on from fibers to wool, like the rearing and breeding of the sheep. And after that, the different steps which are shearing and then the shorting, scouring, dyeing them, etc. etc. Now, in this chapter, in this section, we are going to learn about the another animal fiber, which is silk. Silk fibers are obtained from the silkworms. The silkworms, they spin the silk fibers. So we obtain the silk from the cocoon of the silk moth. So this insect producing silk is called silk moth. And this silk moth is living on the leaves of the mulberry trees. So it lives on the leaves of the mulberry trees. It eats the mulberry leaves as a food. So in that silk moth, in their life, there are 4 stages. In the life history, they have 4 stages about which we are going to learn later also. And there are the eggs, larva, pupa and the adult. Generally we see that in other animals and the birds, either they give birth to young ones or from the eggs are hatched and the young ones are coming out. So mostly we see that the young ones are same as the adults. For example, the newborn baby of human being look like human being. The puppy of a dog, when it born, it looks like dog. Similarly, the small birds, chicks coming out of the eggs of the hen look like the hen. But in some of the animals or some silk moth like that, they don't give meat from the eggs. Not the same young one is coming out. The young one coming out of the egg is totally different from the adults. Then it passes through the drastic changes, and then after few steps it turns into the adult, like that. So here in the moth also, silk moth also, there are 4 different stages, and after that it becomes adult moth. Now the sericulture. What is the sericulture? The rearing of silk moth for obtaining silk is called sericulture. Sericulture is like a business, because in that the silk moths are reared on a large scale to obtain the silk, because we can't get only few silk moth, it will get only little silk cloth fibers. So to obtain silk on a large quantity, they rear this silk moth on a large scale, and that is known as sericulture. So you have to remember what is sericulture. The rearing of silk moth for obtaining silk is called sericulture. Now, this life history of the silk moth, as I told you, that the female silk moth will lay eggs, and eggs will be hatched on the she will lay the eggs on the mulberry leaves, where after hatching it, the small larvas, also called as caterpillar or the silkworm, they look like worms, therefore they are known as silkworm also. So that larvae are coming out of the eggs, which are called caterpillar or silkworms. Now, these silkworms or the caterpillars grows by eating the leaves of the mulberry trees. They are eating too much and growing very faster. Almost in few days, they will be growing in the 3 times of the original size. So now when they are growing in size and when they are ready to go in the next stage after larva, that is the pupa. So in the beginning, what will they do? It first weaves a net to hold itself. They will weave a net so that they can hold themselves on that mulberry leaves. And then what they do? Then it swings its head from side to side in the form of the figure of English 8. Thus 8. So what it will start moving its head like that in the shape of the 8, and while swinging like that, it secretes a chemical like a protein. During these moments, it secretes fiber made up of protein which hardens on exposure to air and becomes silk fiber. So when it is ready to enter the stage of pupa, first it will hold itself in the net, and then it start shaking its head, swinging its head side to side in a shape of the 8. And during this movement, it secretes a chemical made up of the protein, and that is like a fiber. It is liquid, but when it come in contact with the air, when it is exposed to the air, it becomes hard and turns into the silk fiber. So now by doing this continuously, what will happen? The caterpillar covers itself by fibers. The whole pupa will be covered inside and turns into pupa. So this covering is known as cocoon. So while doing that thing, it will cover itself, and the whole thing will be covered. The silk moth, that pupa will be made now. So that caterpillar will cover itself in these fibers, and then it will covering is known as the cocoon. The further development of pupa into adult moth continue inside the cocoon. So when the cocoon is completed and the further development of the pupa will be taking place inside that cocoon, and then what happens? when the complete development is finished, then it will crack that cocoon, and then the adult silk moth will come out from that cocoon. You can see the picture which is showing the different stages of the moth. You can see the different stages in which there is eggs, then larva coming out, then it start making pupa, and the cocoon is there, inside which the pupa turns into the adult moth. So the silk yarn is obtained from this cocoon of the silk moth. Now there are different type of silkworms are also there. Not only the same type of the silkworms are there, moth are there, and therefore there are different types of silk fibers are also produced. They are different, little different in the texture and the shining and so on. So there are so many types of the silk is obtained. So now the most common silk moth is the mulberry silk moth. Most of the silk is obtained from the mulberry silk moth. The silk fiber from the cocoon of this moth is soft, lustrous and elastic, and can be dyed in beautiful colors also. So there are some different type of silk are obtained from the different type of the cocoon, that silk moth also. And there are different type of silk is known as like the tussar silk, muga silk, kosa silk, etc. So it depends on the different textures because of the different type of the silk moth are there, and then we get the variety of the different type of silk so obtained. Now from cocoon to silk. Here we learn that to obtain the silk from the silk moths, we are rearing them on the mulberry trees because they like the leaves of the mulberry trees. We already understand about the life history that from the eggs, the larva, then pupa, and finally pupa are converting into the adult moth. Now obtaining silk for silk industry, silk moths are reared and their cocoons are collected to get silk thread. It means first step is the rearing the silkworms. So we know that the female silk moth will lay the hundreds of eggs at a time, and then the eggs are stored carefully on the strip of clothes or paper and sold to the silkworm farmers. So here there are different steps here that how is the process is going on. So first of all, the eggs, the female will lay hundreds of eggs which are stored carefully on the strip of clothes or the papers, and then it is sold, they are sold to the silkworm farmers. And what will the farmers do? The farmers, silkworm farmers, keep eggs under hygienic conditions so that the eggs are not getting spoiled or so on. So the farmers keeps eggs under hygienic conditions and under suitable conditions of temperature and humidity. Not too much temperature, not too low temperature, not much humid, not less humid. Perfectly necessary humidity, temperature is maintained. So the silkworm farmers will keep them in the totally hygienic conditions so that the hatching of the egg will be possible and the larva can come out. The eggs are warmed to a suitable temperature for the larva to hatch from the eggs. So it needs suitable temperature. If it is less temperature or more temperature, they cannot be hatched properly and the larva cannot come out. So therefore, the proper temperature is maintained there. This is done when mulberry trees bear a fresh crop of leaves. When the mulberry trees have the fresh crop of leaves, that time it is done. The larvae, called caterpillars or silkworms, eat day and night and increase enormously in size. So now the larvae are eating that mulberry leaves. They are eating too much and they are increasing in the size in very big amount. The larvae called caterpillars eat day and night and increase enormously in the size, as we can see in the figure here. Here you can see that eggs are there and they are start eating the larva, eating the mulberry. And this is the whole thing that we are going to talk about. You can see in your book on the page number 30. So now the larvae, as I told you, they start eating too much and they are increasing in size, nearly 3 times of its original size. Now what happens next? The larvae are kept in clean bamboo trays along with freshly chopped mulberry leaves. Now they are kept in the bamboo plates, bamboo trays, and then along with the freshly chopped mulberry leaves, it is necessary for them. Now after 25 to 30 days, the silkworm stops eating. It means that they are ready to enter in the other stage, that is called pupa. So after 25 to 30 days, they stop eating and move to a tiny chamber of bamboo in tray to spin cocoons. So they have kept the tiny chambers, so they will enter in the chambers, fix themselves in the network and then start spinning the cocoons, and they cover themselves inside the cocoons. Small racks or twigs may be provided in the trays to which cocoons get attached. And then the caterpillar or silkworm spins the cocoon inside which develops the silk moth. So now what happens? They start spinning that cocoon around the body and then cocoon is finished and then the pupa develops into the silk moth. Now after that, processing silk. A pile of cocoons is used for obtaining silk fibers. The cocoons are kept under the sun or boiled or exposed to steam. So either it is boiled or kept in the sun or exposed to the steam. The silk fibers are separated out. The process of taking out threads from the cocoon for use as silk is called reeling the silk. So our next step is the reeling. It means the processing of taking out fibers from the cocoon is known as reeling, and this reeling is done in the machines. Reeling is done in special type of machines which unwind the threads or fibers or silk from the cocoon, and then silk fibers are then spun into silk threads and which are woven into silk clothes by the weavers. So that is the story, that how the silk is obtained. Finally the silk cloth is obtained from the cocoons, and then that is the we obtain the silk. And as we already talked about it, that the silk are of the different categories according to the types of the silk moth. As we talked that Mughal silk and Kosa silk and etc. are there. So here we are finished with the chapter. We are going to finish today's session and the chapter also. So it will be followed by the PDF file, and if there is any difficulties, please write down in the comment section. Thank you very much.